Yeah. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think it's true. It's hard to say. Here comes the governor. Fix this. We're not going to get cake when the governor. Okay. We didn't get cake. He promised us cake.
Not really.
So if everybody can take their seats, we're going to get started again. And before I introduce the next person, I would like to thank Aladdin for lunch and give them a round of applause for today. And I have one very important question. Is it anybody's birthday today? Yesterday. Okay, anybody's birthday the closest to today? This is really important.
See, that's no problem.
Seriously? Really? Oh my gosh, well, you just won.
$50 million.
That you're then going to turn over to the state of West Virginia.
Right, absolutely.
You have just won 2 round-trip tickets from Morgantown to either Pittsburgh or Washington, D.C. from the Southern Airways back there. So, government justice. The other announcement I'd like to make is, if you have not visited the Black Bears table, please do so before you leave and drop your business card in the bowl, because they are giving away from today's participants a set of season tickets to the upcoming season. They gave away one last night during our business after hours, and we thank them for sponsoring that event and also for giving away the tickets. So Black Bears are right back there to my right. I thank Aladdin. I would like, please pay attention to our sponsors today. They're very important. And before you leave, if you can please visit our exhibitors one more time, we certainly appreciate them taking the time. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Alan Ratton. Alan is the market president for North Central West Virginia with WesBanco, and he will be making the governor's introduction. But Alan and I go way back because Alan is a former chairman, a former board member. He coached my boys in soccer.
Tina was my babysitter.
Alan Ratton.
I have a lot of hobbies, but I'm a high school basketball scorekeeper. I go to a lot of high school basketball games. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to be in Greenbrier County at a high school basketball tournament, keeping score. And if you've ever done that, if you've ever been associated with it, what you typically do is you form a relationship with other people at the table because you're there for 2 or 3 days. And we were there, and one of the things that, well, the governor was actually, the future governor was actually coaching the team. So I said to them, they knew them, they were from Greenbrier County. I said, what do you think of Jim Justice? This was about 2 years after the Greenbrier, he had taken over Greenbrier. And the scorekeeper, the other scorekeeper, because there were 2 of us, immediately says, great guy, absolutely a wonderful guy, has been a godsend to Greenbrier County. Because the Greenbrier would not be what it is today if not for him. So everything you heard about him is true. And I said, well, that's really nice. You know, the best things that people say about you come from friends and family. Those are usually the truth. Well, then the clock keeper, you could probably figure out who that is. The clock keeper says, you know, we have to say the Pledge of Allegiance to him. And I said, I don't know what you mean. He said, well, our kids in school, we all have to say the Pledge of Allegiance to him every day. In fact, your kids do too. And I said, he looked at the flag and said, and liberty and justice for all. One of the most endearing things about our governor is his great love for our state. And so, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, Jim Justice.
Okay, everybody, sit down. Look at all these wires they got on me. I mean, This is a high-tech place, but I look like I've been bugged by somebody. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here and write just a few minutes. I'm going to sit, and then I may be back over there. Can everybody hear me real well? You sure? There is no blooming way. Which mic's not on? I know, but y'all are supposed to turn them on.
Let's see. There we go. You are hot.
Okay, now I'm in business. Good gracious. Look at the wires. Okay, one thing we got to clean up for sure. On those airline tickets that I just won, can we make those one-way tickets and let me donate mine to Tim Armstead? Terrible. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Okay, I'm going to sit down and talk with you, okay? I made myself a couple notes just coming in here, but, you know, years ago, I had the opportunity to speak, I think, to you. And at that time, you know, I surely wasn't a gubernatorial candidate. I was just Jim, the owner of the Greenbrier and the, you know, the owner of several different businesses and everything. And I spoke to you from my heart. I made you laugh a lot, and it was a great night. Now, today I'm speaking to you as the same Jim, but in a little different context because I am your governor. Now, I would say to you just this, that a lot of people have said to me, well, what's the first 100 days been like? And I would say this to you, that surely some of y'all in here voted for me. Maybe not all of you by any stretch of the imagination, but some of you did. And with the way some of this has gone over the last 100 days, I would say, why did you do that? No, I'm just kidding. Really, it's been good. It's been frustrating. It's been hard. It's been eye-opening. It's been business. It just has. You know, in everything you do, in everything that I've done every day of my life, a lot of people say, well, what have you found about government that's so different in business? And I've said, not really anything. You know, in business, you've got all kinds of obstacles and all kinds of wickets that you've got to get through. And in government, you have the same thing. It's, you know, anybody that thinks this day and time, just because you're in business, you just tell people what to do and then they go do it. Well, you know better than that, and I do too. You know, this day and time, you've got to motivate people, and you've got to try to help people, and you've got to be kind, and all the stuff that makes the wheel turn. Now, in government, there's a lot of different wickets, and we got to get through them. Now, I would tell you this, that you have a 4-county area here, whether it be Mon County or Preston or Harrison or Marion County, and you're doing all kinds of great stuff. And you've got an incredible future right at your fingertips. And you've got issues, don't you? You've got issues within infrastructure, or issues within housing, or whatever it may be. And you've got opportunity for real live growth. And at the end of the rainbow, you have to address those challenges as what to do. The other thing that I think you have to have is you have to have a plan from state government, a plan that is assisting you and helping you in every way. Well, that's what I want to do. I want really and truly a lot of Charleston people to understand and run your playbook in a lot of ways. And I've said that's the exact same thing before. Now, let me tell you, the problem today with state government, as I see it, is just this, is we don't really have a plan. Now, I want to talk to you, and I want you to really dial in, and I want you to really listen to me. You know, when I first took office, the day after the inauguration, I was coaching a basketball game at Princeton High School. And when I was there that night, after the game, I walked out and there was a trooper that was sitting there waiting on me. And he said, "Governor, I'm going to be right behind you. If you look back in your rearview mirror, I'll be right behind you all the way to your house in Lewisburg." I said, "Great." Now, through the inauguration, the day before and everything else like that, I was beat. And a guy with me, I said, "Mo, you drive," and Kathy was with me, and Kathy sat behind Mo, and off we went. Well, we got to the first toll booth at Gent, and the trooper went right behind me, came right around us, and right through the toll booth he went. And I said, "Mo, just keep up with him, let's go." Now, we're in my vehicle. So right through the toll booth we go and everything. No easy pass, no nothing, just here we go. Well, all of a sudden then he's going faster and faster, and I thought, great, we're going to get home fast and everything. And so we're just booking it down the road and everything. And I look over and Mo's doing 92 miles an hour, and we're right with the trooper. And then it hits me, Mo's vehicle's on Harper Road, and we're going to cut heading toward Lewisburg. Uh-oh. And when we do, we need to go to Harper Road. So I call the dispatch and say, "You've got to call ahead to the trooper and tell him to go on to Harper Road." And so they call back in just a second, and they said, "Governor, the trooper in front of you is not with you. And he's taken a prisoner to the jail. And the trooper behind you says he can't keep up with your ass." Now, so that's kind of where it started. And then along the way, then we come to a State of the State address. And I've had to look at all kinds of real issues. A $500 million deficit. Our rainy day fund, where we've already pulled it down and pulled it down and pulled it down. We have not lived within our means the last 3 years. That's just teetotal smoke and mirrors. We've lived off of our savings. You know, we haven't been responsible. Now, I am absolutely telling you that I am not for, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, expanding government. I'm not for that in growing government in any way. And I would tell you this too. It doesn't matter to me if you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent. We ought to first and foremost be West Virginians. And that's what I'm trying to be. Now, when you're me, the first thing you do is you go through all the books, and I'm pretty decent at that because I've done that all my life. And you go through and you look at everything there is to look at, and you say, uh-oh, this is a real mess. And it's really a mess. And if you don't believe it, because you're blessed to be in this 4-county area that is knocking it out of the park, you're really missing something. And the impact of the non-4-county area is going to have an unbelievable negative impact on you as well. So listen to me today and understand. Now you awaken to a $500 million hole in the bucket. All the easy stuff's gone. The low-hanging waste fruit is gone. We've drained our rainy day fund to where now we've been downgraded, and if we take more out of it, we're going to even be greater downgraded. As you're downgraded more and more bad things happen. Now, you know me, I'm just a straight-talking guy that's got a lot of stories and a lot of analogies. You know, there was a kid at Greenbrier East High School. I thought this was brilliant, to tell you the truth. But on the way to school, there was a raccoon along the side of the road that had been run over, and he stopped and picked it up, and true as it can be, put it in his car. He brought it to school and took fishing line and put it around the raccoon's neck and tied it to his leg. And he took off running right down the hallway of the school screaming bloody murder, and the teachers and the kids were diving into the classrooms like crazy. 2 or 3 of them got hurt, and they ended up suspending him for 7 days. I would have probably given him a commendation medal or something, because I thought it was terribly creative. But nevertheless, what I'm about to say to you is just this, is if we continue to do what we've done in the past, every time we turn around and look, that raccoon's going to be right with us. The hole's not going to get fixed, and the raccoon's going to be there. Now, I want you just for this moment to think, to really think. This has been postured that Jim Justice wants to raise your taxes and the other side wants to live within our means. It's really important that today you understand this. We're missing the story. The story here doesn't have anything to do with that. And we have an opportunity right at our fingertips that is unbelievable. You know, I look back here and I see Tom Smith, and Tom Smith is our Secretary of Transportation, and he is a superstar, a real superstar. And I've picked people, and it didn't matter again if they were Republican or Democrat or whatever. I've picked the right people to head up this cabinet. Now, let's think. Let's just think. Please tell me this, you're business people and you're smart people. Tell me where the plan is here. Tell me where the plan is. If I sign the budget that came to me, here's what would happen. This is it. We were going to take $90 million out of rainy day, weren't we? Now, we've already been told we'll be downgraded even more if we do that. That's a wreck. We're going to have to take almost $200 million out of Medicaid. $219 million to be correct. Well, last year we lost 700 and some people within our state from drug overdoses last year. How many are we going to lose next year? If we do that, how many people are we going to actually kill? We're going to have thousands die. You're going to have to turn your back on the autistic kid or the senior. That's what you're going to have to do. And are you willing to do that? The other thing we're going to have to do, we're going to have to hammer WVU, Marshall, our other universities, our tech schools. We're going to actually have to just harpoon them. We're going to have to walk away from a 2% teacher's pay raise because you can't even fill the classrooms here. And we're going to have to just say to our teachers, nope, we can't do that. We're going to have to throw away the possibility to have a little bit of money in a fund to be able to promote tourism. We're going to say we're just not even going to market ourselves. We're going to have to throw away our vets. My plan, I basically put into my plan that we would exempt veterans' retirement from our state income tax. Throw it away. The other thing we're going to do with the plan that came to me is we're going to throw away 48,000 jobs and all of our highway projects. Throw them away. We're going to throw away the tiered severance tax, throw it away. We're going to cut our state police. We're going to cut our corrections. Now, please answer just this question. If we do that, what's the plan? What's the plan? Where are we going to recovery? How are we going to stop the drug epidemic? What's the plan? There is no plan. There's no plan at all. This is not a situation of live within your means versus Jim Justice wanting to raise your taxes. What Jim Justice wants to do is this. If you want the real story, then tell the story. Tell the blooming story. Jim Justice, on one hand, wants to do this. He wants to, for the people, he said, I really believe to get out of this mess, we've got to have a four-legged stool. The government's got to help. Any waste that we can come up with, we've got to cut. The businesses have got to participate to some degree, as light as we can possibly make it on all of y'all. The people have got to participate, and the very wealthy have got to just show the people that they care a little bit more too. Well, and let's identify, let's quantify it. What I did was this. I said, for the real wealthy, you make above $300,000 a year, you got to pay $500. Well, what is that? You make above $350 or $400 or whatever it was, I don't recall exactly, you got to pay $750. If you make above $500,000 now, you got to pay $1,000. For crying out loud, it's a gnat on a dinosaur. It's symbolic. It's just that. It's sending a message to the average, everyday guy that justice is willing to help just a little bit more. And from the business standpoint, what I wanted to do was a cat tax. And I wanted to do 0.00025. Now think what that is. That's $250. $250 is what I wanted to do. And later on, the chamber, you guys, the chamber came back and said, no, let's do 0.00045. I wanted to do 0.00025. You know what that is? That's $250 for every $1 million of gross income. If you got a business that's a small business, everybody says, well, let's talk about a small business. Well, a small business may be $5,000 a month. On that business, their tax is $12 a year. $12. And what I'm trying to do is deliver them 10,000 new customers. Now, at the end of the day, the sales tax, which I proposed originally, was a half a penny. A half a penny. Now, you find me one good West Virginian out there. Find me one. Find me one that's going to turn and going to say, my choice. I can pay the half a penny, or you got to close this seniors facility, or you got to close Fairmont State, or you've got to close a state park, or you've got to take away from the state police, or you've got to walk away from the veterans. You find me one that would say that. I haven't had one yet that would say that. But here's the other dimension to this whole thing. You know what else we can do? We can do everything that I've just said, and we can immediately lower the state income tax rate. So, on one hand over here, you've got a sprinkle of increases, and on the other hand over here, you've got a lowering of the severance tax to our coal companies when things are bad. You've got a lowering of our severance tax when things are bad to our gas people. You've got a raising of severance tax when they're making obscene money. Well, who cares about that? You know, you've got a way for us to go on our toll roads if you want, or if you don't ever go on a toll road, you don't have to do it. You know, you can go on our toll roads for $8 and go free. You've got a way to lower the state income tax, and you've got which is very significant. You know, it's 20% across the board, but to the lower bracket, it's going to probably come in at about 40%. maybe even greater than that. And the other thing, you can exempt our vets from their retirement and they're paying state income tax on that. And you know what you can get for that? And then the only other thing you'll have to do, you have to pay 4.5 cents on the gasoline. And you know what you'll get? You'll get 48,000 new jobs. You'll get $2.4 billion worth of road work immediately done. You'll absolutely be able to do the teachers' pay raise, the vets, the marketing for tourism, everything there is. And somebody in this room, if you can tell me what's wrong with that plan versus what's right with the other plan that just completely, totally destroys us, and we go nowhere, nowhere. I wish that you would. I wish that you would come to me and say, this makes no sense to me. Now, all I've said all along is we as people have got to recognize where we are in this hole, and then we've got to address it, all of us together. Businesses are going to have to do a little bit. People are going to have to do a little bit. Wealthy are going to have to do a little bit more, maybe. And at the end of the day, the government's going to have to do all they can do. I'm telling you, if we were to wave a wand and do this, we would explode this state to the upside that quick. We really would. We'd be on a pathway to eradicate our state income tax completely. We'd be building highways like blooming crazy. There'd be so many more job opportunities within the state, it would be off the blooming chart. We could sunset the CAT tax and back off of the consumer sales tax once everything kicked in and started going. We wouldn't have to walk away from higher ed. And goodness gracious, do you realize that if we try to whack $60 or $70 million out of higher ed, what's going to happen? What is going to happen? First of all, student tuition is going to go through the roof. Somebody's going to have to pay. Services are going to be depleted. And not only that, our tech schools or maybe our smaller schools, some of them are going to have to close. You willing to do that? Not me. Not me. Now let me just tell you this, and here's where I need you. If you believe what I believe, then I would say to you just this. This is not taxes versus anything. This is a plan. This is a real live plan. Do you know in our roads thing, for every one of our successful bidders, we put a 5% fee on. Well, we're for the most part going to pay that as a state. Now, but I'm betting the contractors will sharpen their pencils and it really won't cost 5%. And at the end of the day, then we're going to take every dollar of that and put it in a bucket, and it's going to amount to $120 million that we're going to use to try to eradicate this terrible drug problem. There's a plan. I'm too smart to believe that every piece of it is flawless. There's a plan. I'm perfectly willing to negotiate and listen to anything that's reason, but there's a plan. And I think that's what you want. I think you want a plan to hope and a plan to prosperity and a plan that lets Aunt Edith's grandkids have an opportunity to be here instead of being in Atlanta and Denver and all over God's green acres. I think what you want is a plan that you'll have real highways here and real infrastructure here and give you the opportunity to grow in a way that is what West Virginians want. To still have all your goodness, but have opportunity and growth. And for God's sakes, 11, be able to drive your car down the road without destroying it by the time you leave work and go home. And then, and in doing that, this plan gave us extra hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we could double down in fixing the existing roads. to plan. And here's where I need you, and I really do need you. You've got to get and let your voice be heard, for good or for bad. If you think this is craziness, call your legislators and tell them that you got to stay way away from Justice's idea. But I would just tell you, dissect the other side right now. Dissect what has been proposed. Cut rainy day, cut higher ed, cut DHHR. Absolutely no roads, no severance tiering, no veterans, no teachers' pay raise. And then, please, somebody that's smart, tell me, okay, I got all that, we're going to do all that. Now, where do we go? Where do we go to get out of here? There is no plan. There's no plan. That's the problem. That's the exact problem. So, let me leave you with this. At the Greenbrier, true story again. Probably now 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they called me, again, true. They called me and said, Mr. Justice, this is the front desk, and there's a guest in room 4201, and he is so irate that you can't imagine. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. How in the hell do I get out of this room? He said, one door goes to the bathroom and the other door's got a do not disturb sign on it. Now that's true. So, to me, that's what was sent to me. There is no plan. We can't even get out of the room. You know, I'm telling you, we can do this as West Virginians, and we can get ourselves on a pathway that's unbelievable. You're talking to somebody here that teetotally doesn't in any way, shape, form, or fashion want to grow government. You've not given me the opportunity yet to constrict and cut out of agencies any and everything that I can from the standpoint of waste. And you got to remember, I just got invited to the party here, guys. I walked in the door and they said, okay, here's the deal. Between now, on the budget we passed last go round, on the budget that we passed, which we should have balanced for sure, just as you've got a $123 million hole between now and July. And I said, oh, that's great. That's real good. And here's the situation you are for next year. Next year, you're going to be $500 million in the hole. And the next year, you're going to be $700 million in the hole. Now look, if all we do is balance the budget, I can balance the budget real easy. Let's just not have school in West Virginia. We'll just not have any school. Well, that'll balance it. Or I'll tell you what else we can do. We can take every dollar we have out of rainy day and we can live for a year. Is that our goal? Is that what we're supposed to do? I thought what we're supposed to do as legislators is come up with a plan, put us on a pathway to progress, do what's right for our people. And the last of my last, I just tell you is just this. For us legislators that feel like we ought to be treated like royalty, you see, what we're supposed to be is public servants. That's why we were supposed to have done this. That's why I did it. You know, I don't want a thing. I don't want one thing for me. I want greatness for this wonderful state and for you. I don't need any more gold rings. And at the end of the day, all I want is goodness. I'm giving it everything that I have in the world. But the one thing that you cannot afford to awaken to is you can't afford to awaken to a plan and a bridge to nowhere. And if we don't watch out, that's what we're going to get. We've proven how to be dead last. We got that down pat. And I'm telling you, if you're a coach and you're 0-20, or you're a coach and you're just absolutely running the play and not getting anywhere and you can't score in a game, you don't need to be there. You just don't need to be there. My last is just this. And this has been too somber for me, way too somber. But my last is this. I really believe if I could get in a room with Mitch Carmichael and Mitch and I could work for 5 minutes, we could solve this whole thing. I really do. Tim Armstead, I teased about Tim just a minute ago. Tim, we've met with Tim over and over and over and over and over. For anything you'd read, Justice is going to meeting with Carmichael and I've been left in the dark, that's hogwash. Total, I might as well tell you anything. That's hogwash. Mitch gets it. And he understands what we got to do. He really gets it. The problem with myself and Tim is Tim really believes just this. He believes, now you just think about it, and I can summarize it real quick. He believes he can broaden the base and take away the exemptions. Basically, what that's going to do is direct use taxes. From the standpoint, that's business against business, or business taxing business. Now, if you can go for that, then you need to be calling Tim and encouraging him. But I'd bet my life that you can't go for that once you really know what's what. And I'd bet the business community will do back flips, back double, triple at the end of the day. He would like to modestly lower consumer sales tax, and then you got a $200 million hole, higher ed, K through 12, DHHR. That's the plan. That's it. If you believe in that, that's where Tim is. Well, I can't get Tim off the bubble. I just can't get him off the bubble. It doesn't lower your state income tax. It doesn't lower your severance stuff. It doesn't do the stuff for the veterans. It doesn't even do the stuff on the Easy Pass. You see, that's tax reform. And this other side is so mild that it doesn't even mean anything. But the net of the whole thing is, and I'm just trying to look at my little list here and say just this. I'll end by just congratulating you. What you're doing is no question. You know it is without me saying this. What you've done is greatness. But you absolutely have a watermelon coming at you and you're standing there with a tennis racket and you're going to whiff it because you got opportunity like you can't imagine right here. Now, a lot of places within our state, the opportunity and hopelessness is less and greater. But here, it's phenomenal what you have right at your fingertips. And we got to have a plan. You got to have a real live plan. So I'm telling you, I'm here to do everything I possibly can to do one thing, and that's to help. And that's what I want to do. Now, I don't like to lose, but I'm not a guy that wants credit. I just want us all to gather our hands and run across the finish line together. So I've been way too somber in talking to you today, and I love coming here because this place is totally fascinating to me. But I congratulate you tenfold on what you're doing. I need your help. And I wish to goodness that you would step forward in every way and tell the powers to be, say, guys, please, somebody, pray tell me what's wrong with Justice's plan. What's wrong with it? It doesn't cut higher ed. It doesn't cut DHHR, some, not much. Doesn't cut K through 12. Does good stuff for our vets. Gives our teachers a nothing raise, but it makes them feel a little bit better. Absolutely creates 48,000 new road jobs. Circles back and fixes our potholes and all that kind of stuff. Tiers our severance tax on our coal. Lowers our state income tax. Please, somebody tell me what I'm missing here. Puts us on a real pathway to being a somebody and crawling out of this 50 stuff. So I'll leave you with that. Again, I thank you for having me. You've been very, very attentive, and I don't know if that's good or you're really trying to look and see if you've got some silverware there that you can get a knife and throw at me. But I hope you don't. And I want you to know that, I'll end by just saying what I always say. I mean this. I love you, and I love our state, and I just want goodness. Thank you for having me. I got too many wires.